Good day and good evening, and welcome back to Walk and Talk with me, Caetsu Chaiji, but you can just call me Kai. So tonight, last time, we walked over here because there was going to be a new relic. Correctly guessed. Surprise. But there is also a new thing in this patch. So this walk is going to be a bit longer, probably. So you can probably already guess where we're going. So we should probably get walking very quickly. Before that, though, I just want to say that I'm very shocked that we are this many for the walk, considering that this is the big Silk Song day and all that. I assumed a lot of people would just not be there because they would be gaming this new game, right? The gold saucer? No, I don't think so. That said, hey Rust, hey Eyelid, hey Mizunashi, hey Angel, hey Saros, hey Liv, hey Lana, hey Gazel, hey Aradil, hey Tina Lee, hey Naomi, hey Zaf, hey Monica, hey Tabi, hey Matthew, hey Champion, hey Anna. Hope you're all doing very well. You're going to the one place not corrupted by capitalism. Wise. Hey Milo, hope you're doing well. Yeah, that is true, I've heard that too. That Steam is having trouble with the sheer amount of traffic. But yeah. Hey Riftwalker, hope you're doing well. And Raging Bull, hope you're doing well as well. So explaining this, of course, I haven't picked up the new Extreme. Weird. What this is essentially like a combo Q&A. You can ask me whatever, we can talk about whatever. With a clip review stream. So some people have sent me some clips that we'll be taking a look at. It can be someone showing us something cool. It could be someone going, I did this duty and would like some advice, or someone going, I don't know what went wrong here, blah, 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 blah. Like, it could be almost anything. There is, like, some guidelines in the Discord, in a pinned comment for it, in case you're curious. The room for clip review is on the Discord server as well. But that is essentially what this is like Q&A. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to ask me about, it could be advice even, then this is the place. Also, thank you so much for the super chat, Mizunashi. Says, I'm thanking Miku, ooh. That's a lot of ice cream. Oh, your game crashed. You got you Miku too hard. Thank you so much, Mizunashi. Very much appreciated. That means a lot. Maybe the Miku got overwhelmed by Kai Miku. But yeah, that is essentially what this is. And if there isn't anything people want to talk about, then I usually just go and like bring something up. Case in point. This week was 7.31. Yep, you're coming through just fine, Ardell. Everything good? Which means new relic weapon stage. And there is a little bit of confusion for some players about how it works. Our very own Fupoof in the community has been doing some work to compile a list of how some of the things work. And I also have some general information. And part of my data that it's a little confusing is that I have seen a bunch of comments very confidently stating incorrect information on the internet. I know, shocker, people confidently saying stuff they don't know about on the internet. Hasting Arrow, hope you're doing well. Exactly, Poof. Hope you're doing well as well, by the way. People wrong on the internet. So the first one is... Hey, Ilya. Hope you're doing well as well. The first thing is... So the first step of this part of the relic chain is you need 5 items. You need 1 item that is bought from a vendor in Tuliholol for 300k gil. You can also buy it from the market board, but unless it's for less than 300k gil, you probably don't want to do that. Another item is bought in Yaktel from the Bicolor Gemstones vendor, costs 600 gemstones, can also be traded, so if you don't have that or don't want to grind that, you just buy it from someone who did. And then there's 3 items that... then there's 3 items that need to be crafted. And those can also be traded. So like you can overcome most of it if you just have some gil. I have been told that the materials to make the things are a lot cheaper than the things still. So depending on what your own options are, you might benefit from just buying the materials and crafting it yourself, or buying the materials and getting a friend to craft it for you or something. Me personally, I paid, I asked for someone to generously give me a decent offer, and Poof was first and asked for nothing, so I paid an exorbitant amount in essentially a tip. But that didn't really matter. Like, I have 71 million gil. I'm not exactly hurting for cash. That's the first step. The second step, you're given this thing. And the first misunderstanding of this step is some players think that you have to do this quest as the job you picked it up as. You don't. However, you only progress these if you do the associated duty through the appropriate roulette. It's not good enough to just queue for a trial that is in trial roulette. You have to queue for trial roulette, otherwise it doesn't count. And that could lead to this misunderstanding. Say False Geek, and Cat, and Seraph, hope you're doing well, and Sally, hope you're doing well as well. And yeah, I've also seen that YouTube has been a little janky recently and giving me error messages. But the next thing where there's a little bit of a misunderstanding is actually in regards to this. I think this one has been quelled, but there were some players spreading this misinformation that the amount of progress you got was approximately 1 point per 3 seconds in the duty. It straight up just isn't, right? It straight up isn't. If you've compared numbers with other people for 5 minutes, you'll realize that every run of a particular duty gives the same amount of light, quote unquote. So it can't be that. You'll also find that some duties that take just as long as higher level duties sometimes give way less. So it's more like an estimated amount of expected effort that determines it, and then they've just given it a fixed number. And that's basically it. Hey Bob, hope you're doing well. The very, very nice... let me just see here. Did I... Yes. The very nice spreadsheet that Poof made that is pinned in the spoiler room at present. It's not completed, but there's a lot of information. Due to the information there, we can actually say some things about how to optimize your grind. If you're interested in optimizing your grind. Exactly, Vupoof. Exactly. I had a similar thing Tuesday. And it's very easy to disprove it. Which is like, that is also like my counter argument after presenting my case was, if they're so sure that that's how it works, then all they have to do to prove it is round up 3 friends, queue for high-level dungeons, sit in the duty for an hour, and then complete the duty as normal. And then see if they got like an exorbitant amount of points. And they won't, because that's not how it works. But that is funny sometimes, that people will make claims like that, completely ignoring the fact that if it actually worked like that, it would be very easy to prove. And if it's very easy to prove, then do it. Like, you don't need to argue with me about it. I have evidence for what I think is true. If you have evidence that you're right, then just show me. But if you can't provide it, boom jams, then it's not true. The thing is, Ilana, for me, I've seen various numbers. And also true, Ceres, that's also what I said in that discussion was, if it actually worked like that, we would, 1, had figured that out extremely quickly, and 2, people would abuse it. Anything else, Tyke? Hope you're doing well, and yeah, pretty much. So, in regards to optimizing this, for those curious, a rough estimate is that on average, if we just assume completely random distribution of duties that you get, because you could get unlucky, technically, is that it will take about 13 days of just doing one of each every day. If you just do that, it should take about 13 days. The reason why I say it like that is because it turns out that the bonus you get is a fixed number, which is probably for the best, because otherwise some people would try to game the system to specifically get those where the bonus is bigger, even if it wouldn't matter. Because usually the ones where the bonus is bigger is because the base amount, like if there was a logic to making the bonus bigger, it would be to compensate in cases where the regular amount is smaller. Exactly, Gazel. You have to provide evidence to support my claim because I am correcting you in your comment section. Exactly. Ah, that's annoying, Talibar. I still hope you're doing well, though. Hey, Kiwi. Hope you're doing well. That's awesome. So, the general optimization, if you actually want, like, if you want to do more than that, like, if you want to do more than one of each every day, then an important thing to consider is that, and I have the numbers, like, kinda in an additional browser window here. On average, if you just spam a particular roulette, like, you do the daily and then you just spam it, it would take you, like, 15 alliance raids to finish that one. Which, you know, daily 13 times, or just smash it out in one day. Just do 15, just straight, done, on average. The key here to remember is that the ones that really drag down the average is like Crystal Tower, which probably comes as no surprise. But the Crystal Tower is also really short, so overall, it should almost be beneficial to get Crystal Tower. I say almost, because yesterday I did mentor roulettes, and every single time I rolled a duty that happens to coincide with one of these 4 things, everyone was doing way better than normal. Like, all of my clear times were faster than average. So any information you might be used to as an average clear speed might be like you might be able to just throw it out the window, because apparently the roulettes have been filled with pumpers now, so things might be a bit faster. Near alliance raids might actually be the best option because people are bringing it suddenly. But that said, about 15 alliance raids on average. Then, in second place, we have high-level dungeons, for which you'd need to do about 25. Again, 13 days of just one daily, or about 25-ish high-level dungeons. Just smash it out, done. So that's like nearly double the amount of effort. And then, in a shared last place, normal raids and trials, you need to do about 64 of each, or do the daily 13 times. The reason for this is that the daily bonus for alliance raids is like 101 points. The daily bonus for high-level dungeons is 376 points. And the daily bonus for the raids and trials is 614. So essentially, the daily bonus is really big on those, which is why just doing the daily is so much more impactful. And that is true for Poof. I did mention that. We're assuming that the roulettes the duties you're getting is just completely random, like equal chance for everything. And that's not always how it works out. But it is worth taking note of this. But what this also means is that if we take that 15 alliance raids, just start from there. A rough estimate is that if you wanted to reduce the amount of days you'd have to do the daily by 1 across the board, you're doing it every day, but you'd like to just smash out an extra day's worth of effort in one day by just spamming out duties to get more points, you would need to do approximately 1 alliance raid, just 1, around 2 high-level dungeons, and then 4 trials and 4 normal raids. So you would need to do 11 duties, which is possible, absolutely possible, but it does really put it into perspective. If you wanted to save yourself some time by doing something ahead so you can skip something on other days, Alliance Rage is the best one to just smash out, just do that a bunch. But if you're not finished, I would always advise you don't finish one specific bar. Don't get all 10,000 in one thing, because then you lose out on the daily bonus. Although, Alliance Raid daily bonus is so incredibly small that it's not going to hurt that much. It's not going to matter that much. Pigwiggle says, do you have to do the roulette on level 100s? Any level works, as Fuproof said. Some people tested it in the past few days, just to make sure. But that would be my advice, is if you're having a day where you don't have time to do all of them, skip Alliance Raids, because the Alliance Raid one is where the daily bonus is the least impactful. If you have very little time, skip high-level dungeons next. The daily bonus on trials and normal raids is just, those are the breadwinners. Those are the ones you want to get every single day to save you the most time. But aside from that, it's random. It's random. There's not that much you can do. You can't optimize it that much. The greatest optimization you can make is get good. Just be really good at duties, and don't queue as something where you're sitting in the queue for a really long time. The main thing you can optimize on your time is minimizing the wait time. because a lot of the time the duties that take longer give more, and the ones that take less give less. So the best thing you can possibly do is just sit in duties for as much time as possible. Just not like waste time in duties, but spend productive time in duties. Don't sit in the queue. That is the main thing you can optimize. But if you want to optimize your time invested, just do the daily. If you want to optimize how quickly you get it done, well, each day saved, like each time you reduce the total amount of days you need to spend by 1, you need to do about 11 duties. So a pretty solid approach would be to, you know, spread it out so you keep them about at the same. You could also, like, if you're really unlucky on your dailies, you'll probably see specific like points fall behind, and then you can, you know, spend your extra time to catch them up. The reason why normal raids and trials is way ahead for me is because Tuesday we spammed those because that was the way we could play 8 players together. Also, hey Pigwiggle and Spazzy, hope you're doing well. Yeah, that is something you could try, guys. You could try and have friends queue a specific duty for you to try and make that magic happen, but as far as I can see, most of those cases where that would be handy, it's like you're not gaining that much. Does that make sense? Like, it's not worth it. Ostak says, when Alliance Raid Roulette was mentioned for needing to be done, OZE had a small panic attack. Now everyone is spamming Alliance Raid before people are finished. And because, you know, the biggest irony in that, Ostak, is that if everyone just took a deep breath and reminded themselves that everyone needs to do it, they would probably realize that there would be plenty of time before everyone is finished. But because everyone is panicking and smashing it out real quickly, the window to get it done in OCE is quickly closing. Like, the great irony is that it wouldn't be a problem if people just didn't worry. It's like when exactly, Zeros. That was actually just what I was thinking about. It's like the toilet paper craze. Where the people are told, don't worry, there's nothing to panic about. There's enough for everyone if we just act natural. And everyone panics and overbuys. But I will say, if I saw this and I was in a position where I'm like if this was Frontline and I was on OCE, I would probably be like, yep, no, I'm gonna spam that out. I don't trust anyone to wait. If this was Rival Wings, like straight up, if this was Rival Wings, then I would, like, again, I could be like, well, everyone is going to take their time, use the daily, right? I could say that, but I wouldn't trust myself with that. Like, I would go and smash it out real quick while there's a chance to, because the moment people finish, Rival Wings will stop popping again. Yeah, exactly, Champion. I would guess that right now OZE pops a bit faster in peak times on OZE. Hey, Birds Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Says, I wish Rival Wings was the roulette. I'm baffled that Rival Wings is hidden away, like, as if developers are ashamed of its existence. Like, that's how much it feels like they're hiding it away. Like, it doesn't have a roulette. You go to the PvP menu here, and you have to scroll all the way to here to see it. And you know what's even sillier about that? The top one hasn't been in service for, like, I think half a decade at least. Like, they should just, like, hide it. Just remove that from the menu. And figure out what you're gonna do with it. Or fix it. Don't leave it like that. Don't leave it like that. Oh, that is an interesting point. You can just reverse it. But I will say, just while we're on the topic, when Crystalline Conflict was initially added and basically the list went to here, if I recall correctly, this was what you were able to see. Like, this was where the cutoff point was. Like, it was so perfectly placed so you couldn't see Rival Wings. Like, it's so perfectly aligned that if a developer said, like one of the devs for Final Fantasy XIV, just doesn't have to be Yoshi P, just anyone was like, yeah, well, we're actually not that proud of Rival Wings. Like, we regret making it. I would be like, you don't say. I'm not surprised to hear that. Because they have done, like, depending on how you look at it, they either have done absolutely nothing to let people know that it exists, or they have done, or in contrast, they've done absolutely everything to make sure you don't know that it exists. Either way, same seas, right? Hey Steve, hope you're doing well. A good heads up, don't level crafters on the new planet. You will lose 100,000 plus XP at level 60 per mission. Wait, what? What do you mean? Is it because the missions are too hard? Or is it like XP bug? I would also mention, like, speaking of PvP modes that have just been, like, offline. Oh, the missions just give less XP. That is weird. Like, speaking of, of PvP stuff that has just been offline, like, I'd just like to remind you that I made a video about, like, what seems to be, like, discontinued features and stuff, like, abandoned stuff in Final Fantasy XIV. And I included in that video that Borderland Ruin Secure had basically been offline for approximately a whole expansion cycle. Like, it went offline sometime in 6.1, I believe. And then it came back in, I think, 7.2? Thank you, Ardell. But the funny thing is, I made that video ready to release it. Then Yoshi P is like, oh yeah, Borderland Ruins is... Well, not necessarily Yoshi P, but like, then they announced that Borderland Ruins is coming back. I'm like, well, I have to change the video now. But I think the funniest part about them taking Secure offline for like 2 years, at least, for it to come back, is that my guess, like when they took it offline, my guess was, well, the center pillar is mega jank, especially with the amount of jobs that had knockbacks. Like, in the old version of the map, it felt like jobs that had a pull-in or a knockback of some sort had a massive overrepresentation in specifically that map, because there were a lot of strategies where you could just get easy kills by knocking other players off the field. So I thought, well, when they finally release it, I imagine that they will have fixed that. Like, they'll just have, I don't know, made the pillar a few stories shorter so you don't die from the fall damage. Or they'll do something else, maybe put like a trampoline at the bottom so you don't die from fall damage when you fall that far. What they did was add teleporter so it's easier to come up the pillar. And I think they added more railings. But the common places that other players can use to bait you into a spot where they can knock you off the arena are still there. So I was just like, I don't understand why the map had to be like pulled offline for 2 years to come back like this. Like, it feels like whatever I thought the problem was, at least, wasn't solved. Like, the old version of the map could have stayed for all that time. And then they could have just said, oh, we've updated it. Like, we've made it better now. And then just left it at that. That's what they did with Shatter. Like, they just overnight went, oh, we changed the map. They could have just done that. But they didn't. Which is why I'm so surprised that it wasn't, like, changed more fundamentally, if that makes sense. I'll say, Cybrid, hope you're doing well. And yeah, exactly, that is also, like, that one is even funnier, because not only did they add it back, still with the option to knock back people, like, just as an extra, like, cherry on top, they gave all the tanks the strongest knockback in the game. Like, I'm just saying, my first, like, 2 goes at Secure, I specifically went Paladin, because Intervene is a really fast-acting stun, and it just, if I saw someone near enough to the edge, I'd just go, stun, clunk, just send them to their doom. I eventually realized that it wasn't that effective of a strategy, and other role actions were more impactful. But the amount of times that it worked basically told me that it was like, it felt like they didn't solve that problem. It's perfectly possible that that they took the map offline for a completely different reason. And it had nothing to do with that. And I was just making a mountain out of a molehill, and they were like, that their data is like, people don't die that much from the knockbacks. There's just some people that think it's particularly funny to do, so they do it a lot more frequently. It just doesn't work as often as people think it does. Like, simply put, once you learned the tells of someone trying to knock back you or pull you into the depths, you learn to avoid them. Like, you learn to avoid those situations. So you wouldn't die to that as much as you'd think, but because of how incredibly annoying and just frustrating it was to die like that, it was a lot more likely you would remember specifically that death. But all the times you just die, like lost in a fair fight, you don't think about that. Svazzy says that mode was haunting me because I had near complete achievements that I could do nothing about. Yeah, exactly. There are also, like, I'm just saying, there are old PvP achievements that have been updated that are like, oh, if you do this thing in I think it usually goes the Feast or Crystalline Conflict. But the Feast hasn't existed since... Did they turn it off in 6.0 or 6.1? I believe they removed the Feast with Endwalker. Which was a whole, like, again, I don't see why that had to be deleted. I don't think it wouldn't work in the current PvP landscape. So, like, basically what I'm getting at here is that it is very funny how many things in Final Fantasy XIV are kept alive, quote-unquote, like, through the force of will alone. Meanwhile, PvP has, like, this graveyard of removed systems and maps. And it's just like, oh yeah, we removed that. Because reasons. It just weirds me out. It's just strange that it works out like that. I'll say Nox, hope you're doing well. Liv says, I've had it like 5 times in Frontline roulette, and I still have no idea what's going on or what I'm supposed to do or what actually helps the team. In Secure, I might not be the best person to ask on that. However, I can say that one of the positives about Secure is that there is enough going on that there is probably more than one correct answer. The general, like, strict do as you're told kind of style is a lot of very aggressive PvPers might say, when there's stuff happening in mid, you go mid. Don't even argue about it. However, if, hypothetically, let's say you're a yellow team, and blue team has all 24 players in mid, and red team has, like, 22 players. Some of those mid events are so chaotic that they're not it's not going to be that big of a disadvantage if your team is like 19 players in mid. Especially not if you might have a little bit of battle high on some really strong players. So, and now you might be saying, well, what are those 5 players doing? Well, first, they're taking all of Blue's nodes, because Blue's nodes are completely undefended. And then, they might also contest Red on their nodes, because they only have 2 guys to defend. They don't have enough people to take yours and also defend their own. If they meet any resistance from your team, they lose, because you outnumber them more than 2 to 1. So you can just beat them with manpower, and you're probably going to be performing well enough in mid that it doesn't really matter that you're a few extra players short because of all the chaos that happens. And if you just play a little defensively up there, it might not be clear that you're 5 players short. At the same time, it's possible that red and blue just decides to just dogpile your team in mid, like they might have realized that, oh, they're less. And then they just randomly decide to sandwich your team. And there it would be really nice if you were 24. On the other hand, maybe it wouldn't be, because you're going to get sandwiched anyway. So they, like, in that case, it's probably better if you're like 5 players in mid. And you just have the majority of your team just stealing nodes. The general idea is that the chaos of Secure is so strong that it isn't clear what the correct answer is. Which I think is a good thing, because Frontline, at its core, is that chaos energy. Like, that's what Frontline does. Which means for the casual PvPer, the one that maybe dabbles a bit in it. Maybe they don't even view themselves as a PvPer. They only do it until they've done their series reward, and then they're done. Secure could be the perfect place to be, because it kind of feels like you could be anywhere. As long as you're going somewhere, you're being productive for your team. Where in some of the other maps, it feels like there's a very, very specific correct answer. And if you don't do the correct thing, then you're actively making your team lose. That can still be the case in Secure, but it feels less prominent. But it does also mean that the players that are more dedicated PvPers probably appreciate it less, because that chaos means that there's even less system in what people are doing. Like, it's a lot more likely that everyone is everywhere. And then you lose because everyone is everywhere, and no one is keeping control over the troops. And by troops, I mean the ones that don't actually know what they're doing tend to contribute better when they can just follow someone and just be part of the Zerg, right? Like, when they just have to contribute a little bit of damage to get something done. Meanwhile, the the strong players can't, you know, cover them. See, Eyelet says, I always just assumed you got most points in mid. You do. The idea that I'm bringing forth with the you could just send less players mid is you might be able to garner just as many points from mid as the other teams, just due to the sheer chaos factor there. And then on top of that, you're stealing the other team's node, so once mid is over, they have to go and recapture their own stuff. Which means you just get extra points. And you get to be annoying. Sally says, I feel like both times they've taken a PvP map offline, they thought it wouldn't take this long to open it again. Maybe. But I do feel like there's something funny about the fact that they turn off Astrolagos. And then they turn off Secure, and then Secure comes back, and then Astrolagos. Well, one day, maybe. Maybe one day they'll figure out how to sell people on it. But I'm still reiterating, isn't the PvP team pretty small? Wouldn't surprise me if it is. But I'm just saying, I don't even care if the PvP team is very small. Here's my suggestion. Here's my genius master plan to make rival wings more popular. Add one more of these. Just one more. In fact, if you want to be extra brilliant, like really sneaky, make this menu like one line taller. Just this whole menu, just add like a tick, 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 like a slide, but just make it slightly longer, so that this doesn't need to be there, and simultaneously, it can say rival wings right there. That's my suggestion to make rival wings more popular. Add a daily roulette for it, and make it visible in the roulette menu. That's it. That's my suggestion. It might not be a perfect solution, but at least this part about adding a roulette, hopefully it isn't that hard. Me neither, Sting Era. I'm pretty sure I have footage somewhere of me queuing for rival wings for 30 minutes. And it not popping. During a Mock-Tome event where, allegedly, rival wings was an efficient way to grind Mock-Tomes. So there was supposedly a higher intensity of people queuing rival wings. Says, I don't really know in what sense Frontline is a challenge. That's a good question, actually. Well, actually, genuinely, now that you mention it, I guess the reason why they don't put it in the duty roulette menu is because technically Frontline isn't a roulette. It's one specific thing that kind of makes sense that it isn't a roulette. Bob says, do you have a fire alarm that need new batteries? I don't. What do you mean? Is there a beeping sound? Oh, but you sure it's not you that has a fire alarm that needs new batteries? Maybe the mounting sound of the... That could be. That it's just a lot of mounting sounds. Hey, Ericsson. Hope you're doing well. Any recommendation on how to get easier commendations and need 500 more for mentor? Q as healer. Or tank. And then play well. That does actually help. If you're going to play as healer, if you want to optimize even further, go specifically as an astrologian. And make sure to give everyone at least a card at some point in the duty. Also make sure your portrait looks good. Because sometimes that'll be the deal breaker. For some people, like, they'll choose you if they don't know who to commend just because your portrait looks nice. Riftwalker says you could spam guild tests. I will say there's two parts to that one. The first part is, technically, yes, you could just spam under the armor because it's one of the fastest duties in the game. But you are extremely likely to catch people queuing mentor roulette in under the armor. And you know how you make under the armor even faster? By immediately leaving in the exact frame that the duty is over, which means there isn't time to commend you. Also, there isn't time for you to do anything commendable, so a lot of players will just not commend anyone in guild tests. So, like, technically, you could churn a lot of duties, i.e. a lot of opportunities to receive commendations, but you will churn them so fast that the majority of people there have no reason to commend you. Freelon says, on guild tests, I'll comment the obvious sprout. Occasionally, I'll comment someone in guild tests, but generally speaking, I will just leave immediately, the exact moment the duty is over. Betwellcon says, I want to see the frame perfect under the armor leaving speedruns. You should see me get under the armor in Mentor Roulette live. Ham says, from my experience, Secure's points are somewhat balanced between kills, center, and the occupations, tending towards occupations bringing the most. Yeah, that makes sense. It does... it does give the effect that as long as you're doing something, you're contributing. Tenma says, I have commended you in guild tests, you can do better. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes I'm not super fast, but a lot of the times I am super fast. So hey, Freelon and Lollipop Pizza, I hope you're doing well. Yeah, my suggestion would be play tank or healer. Astrologian is a particularly good choice. Zay, hope you're doing well. Make sure your portrait looks good. And then actually play good. Like, actually be good at the game. That one also helps. The thing is, a lot of the time when I say these things, there will almost always be some guy going, now, who commends based on skill? Or something. The thing is, I do. Which means that if you're just playing Astrologian, for instance, and you have a cute you're using 2B leggings, you're using the meta, and you have a sexy picture as your portrait, whatever. You're not, but you're not playing that well. Then you are accommodating some people's requirements to get their commendation, but you're not getting mine. There's a possibility you are if the 2 other players in that dungeon group are even worse. But, like, the trick is each of these things listed are different criteria that people will commend you on. For instance, some players, if given a card by the astrologian, will be more likely to commend the astrologian because they might feel like, well, they gave me something and the only thing I can give in return is this, and then you get a commendation. Other times you just don't. Like, other times they won't think like that. So, like, there's a lot of things, and the best you can do is just try to accommodate as many of these things as possible. Be a good player, play roles that are more in the spotlight, play roles where it is more obvious when you're doing stuff. Like, for instance, an astrologian playing cards. And have a portrait that looks nice. As Osterich said, first and last impressions. And also, as Aradel says, don't get too frustrated over it, because the thing is, it's a random thing. Sometimes you just won't get a lot of commendations. Sometimes you will carry the group on your back to victory and get 0 commendations. And part of the logic there is the reason why you had to carry your group is because your group was actually playing so badly that it's probably likely that they don't know how they managed to succeed anyway. They might not realize that you're the reason. Other times you will have done surprisingly little, but you'll be credited for a lot. And then you get 7 commendations. Hey Lotus, hope you're doing well. Exactly. Between Bertuelcon and Zav, like, one is like, I've gotten 7 as red mage for doing a double-digit number of reses in a fight. Meanwhile, Zav's like, I've done that too and got nothing. Exactly. Exactly. Sometimes, like, by the way, little secret trick. If you queue into me, if you play on chaos and you randomly bump into me doing a duty, if you clarify that you know who I am, there's a higher chance that I will actually pay attention to what you're doing. And if you're not doing bad, I will probably commend you anyway. That might sound like a little bit of cheating, and I do recognize that sometimes I'll commend someone even though they might not have played, like, maybe someone else deserved that one more, or maybe it was like an even matchup, and the deciding factor was, well, that guy knows me. But that is also an advantage. If you know me and you meet me, then if you make it clear that you know who I am in the duty, then there's a chance that I'll commend you. Or at least there's a higher chance. So then you can try that with other people as well. Like, point it out when you meet your friends or people you know. Like, hey! Then they might commend you because, well, they know you. Or rather, you know them. They might recognize you. And like, they'll just commend you because they can do something for a friend. I'll say Rydian and Tyler and... Can't remember if I said it already, but 8-bits as well. Hope you're all doing very well. That happens sometimes, Seraph. It's very frustrating. Easy commendation hack, no, Caetsu Chaiji. Like, I'm just saying, sometimes that one goes both ways, because a lot of the time, when I'm recognized in a duty, like, I'll get a number of commendations that usually correlates with that. Like, weird. So it kind of goes a little bit both ways. And that's also possible, Rydian, that the worse something goes, the worse a duty goes, the more likely people are going to just scoot quickly. Easy hacks to get famous. You know, I will say the good news is that I already had 3,000 commendations before people started recognizing me. So I never needed all those commendations. That would also be a very roundabout way, because you could probably have gotten the commendations just doing duties and all that time you would have had to spend becoming famous. Lazy, hope you're doing well. Depending on the raid, there's a percentage chance Kai will get yoinked off an edge. Also true. False Geek says, you haven't commended me in Leap of Faith, though. I can't, though. Zav says, I sometimes think that someone's playing exceptionally badly and make a note that they probably shouldn't get my commendation. And then I calm them by accident because I just go through the menu quickly. Oh, that one is pretty fun. I think I've done that a couple times. Where, like, right at the end of the duty, I forget for a moment that, actually, there was that one really stupid thing they did earlier in the duty, so they shouldn't get the commendation. And then they get the commendation anyway. But thank you, Ardell. It does help if you're enjoying the stream, so leave a like on it here on YouTube. That tells the algorithm this is an enjoyable stream and you like other people to enjoy it as well. So thank you so much in advance. The rest, of course, also helps a ton, but it's not necessarily as easily done, question mark. I'm actually surprised we're this far already. But if I remember correctly, both Garlemald and Mare Lamentorum is a lot longer than you think. Sorry. But yeah, I would also say, in regards to the commendation farming stuff, a lot of the time it'll come naturally. I'll say Hazel and Emily, hope you're doing well. Hazel says, I exclusively commend new sprouts and clear for X's in my ultimates. Well, you can't commend anyone in an ultimate. So I don't know how you do that, unless you mean you meet them out in the wild. Yeah, YouTube is really something. My guess, just shot in the dark, my guess is that there's a lot of people streaming tonight. And YouTube is having a little bit of a hard time with that. Lollipop Pizza says, it took me a year to get 3,000. It just came slowly as I leveled all jobs to 90. That's the way. Like, my experience was that I got the 300 commendations necessary to become a mentor back when it only required 300. And by the time they moved the requirement to 1,500, I already had 1,500. Hylit says, then there's that dilemma of who to commend when someone played really well, but there's a really cute cat girl. I would just probably commend the one that played really well, for me. But I would also say, like, it kind of depends on what reason you have to want to rush getting the mentor crown. If you just want, like, quote unquote, if you just want to help people, then you could get the Crafter Crown. That one still gives you access to the Novice Network, so you can help people there. There's also the part if that's not what you're looking for and you just want to help people, then you don't need a crown at all. If you specifically want access to the Mentor Roulette, then another thing you could do if you haven't done it already is start to seek out all the duties you haven't done yet. Are there any Alliance raids you haven't unlocked yet? Are there any normal raids you haven't fully cleared yet? Are there any optional trials you don't have? Because the Mentor Roulette requires that you have completed every duty that is on its list, which includes, well, it includes this, all of this. It actually lists every single duty, which is pretty funny because a lot of other roulettes don't do that. But Mentor Roulette actually lists every duty that you need to have done to access it, because all of these duties are on the list. So if you haven't done everything, then if it's Mentor Roulette you're after, get on that. The biggest problem is that you also need to beat all of the non-Dawntrail extremes, and like you're just not going to do that in the queue. For Proof says, I think it just shows question marks if you don't have the duty unlocked at all. That is correct. But the funny thing that can happen if you like beeline for the Mentor Crown is that you will be like, once you have the Combat Mentor Crown, this roulette will appear, but instead of showing this, it'll just say you need to have completed the following duties, and then it'll just list the name of every single duty or question marks for each duty if you don't have it unlocked. And it will almost certainly go like just past this point, and then you just can't read anymore and you can't scroll in it. So you will probably not, like, you will just have to start working on it and just start to smash out those those things you're missing. And there are some duties that are really easy to miss. Like if you've never done an Realm Reborn Relic weapon, you will not have the Chimera and Hydra trials. You just won't. Matthew says they really hoping they don't increase the requirement. Yeah, the funny thing is, I can see the justification for moving it from 300 to 1,500 commendations. Like, kind of. What I mean by that is that when they changed it to 1,500, 300 commendations was, for the average player, like, with the amount of time the average player had already invested, 300 commendations was, I would say, probably very normal to just have. Like, you just have that. Easy game. So increasing it to a lot more, I guess, kind of made sense. The problem is that commendations as a requirement itself doesn't make sense. That's an exaggeration, Steve. Most of the players that think like that are actually projecting. As a Gieta, hope you're doing well. And hey Louis, hope you're doing well as well. Louis says, I'll never be a mentor since I haven't even unlocked Leaves from AR. Well, that's not a requirement to becoming a mentor. It's a requirement for Mentor Roulette, but it's not a requirement for Mentor. That's also a funny misconception. I have a whole video on that, but a funny misconception is that people think that the requirements to access Mentor Roulette are the requirements to be a mentor, or vice versa. Where in fact, being a mentor is one of the requirements to unlocking Mentor Roulette. Sally says they definitely assume people only give out comms for actual good play and not just because. Well, that, but also that how do I put this? Being a good player doth not make you a good mentor. And I said it. And that is the funniest one when people are like, there are some people that are like, actually, I believe to be a mentor at all, you should have cleared the newest Savage tier, and to maintain your crown, you need to do 10 mentor roulettes per week. And if you leave a single duty, then you lose the crown for a month. Like those kind of things. Where it's like, people are choosing to be mentors for free to help. Some players will grab the mentor crown for different reasons. But if you make it an actual punishment to be a mentor, then no one is going to be a mentor. It doesn't accomplish anything. And the requirement of you need to have done the current Savage rate tier is, again, it gives that energy of, to be a good mentor, you have to be an excellent player. Like, point being, it says for free. I thought we were getting special mounts for 2,000 roulettes. Yeah, but being a mentor doesn't give you that, does it? Just being a mentor doesn't give you anything. But the suggestion that you need to have done all this hard content to be a mentor kind of gives off, as I said, that impression that to be a good mentor, you need to be you have to be an exceptional player. But and I'll say, Savage is probably not as hard as it sounds when I put it like that, but what I have found very interesting is that while there are some really bad players that, you know, are just casuals, that are like, they're not too invested in doing really well in like casual content, right? I have seen some, you know, Savage Raiders, Ultimate Legend title havers play really badly in casual content, with the reasoning being, well, it doesn't matter anyway. And I'm just saying, I would probably rather have a mentor who like dedicates their time to the more casual content and actually are invested in doing that well, if the main content the mentor is going to be, you know, doing as a mentor is casual content. Like, I would rather have that the mentor actually sees that content as worthwhile and actually puts in the effort. Which is to say, there could be an argument that while some would say, oh, I think you should have done the current, newest Ultimate and Savage and all that to qualify as a mentor, there's also equally an argument that that player is overqualified. Really random tip for y'all. When YouTube has been really janking it up and like mega crashing on me, sometimes what has solved it, quote unquote, has been close every YouTube tab. Sometimes close the whole browser and start over. Like, it's as if like the whole YouTube connection is janked up, and just starting over real quick helps. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. Proof says extremely cursed idea doing most recent ultimate disqualifies you from mentor. It says, okay, in that case I get XP buff when getting into party with Sprout, right? That's actual benefit, even though niche. Yes, technically. Although I don't think I've ever used that benefit. But yes. There's also the detail that a mentor in party with a Sprout, that XP bonus. You know how if you're in party with a low-level player as a high-level player, you just being in party with them means that they get 0 XP from kills in the open world. That mentor buff removes that. Meaning, if you want to help a blue mage power level, if the blue mage is a Sprout and you're a mentor, or vice versa technically, then you can be in party and do it, if you'd like. Hey killer, hope you're doing well. And yeah, exactly. It's like that's another part to it, Killer the Cat, is that sometimes people going with that oh, you need to have done the newest Savage, you need to do the newest Ultimate to be a mentor, kinda ignore the part where teaching is a separate skill. Although, to be fair, mentoring is not the same as teaching necessarily. So that's not necessarily a requirement either. But being a good mentor doesn't come with being good at something either. Hey Kosari, hope you're doing well. And yeah, that's true. The whole Ultimate Legend, by the way, thing, there's some truth to it. And some of that truth is people, memeing on themselves when, they goof it up, but they're actually, reasonably good. I do the same. If I really goof it in a duty, I'll be like, yeah, by the way, I'm a Savage Raider. I'm a content creator that make guides on how to play the game well. Meanwhile, just smash cut to me wiping to the dumbest thing imaginable. But I have definitely seen some actually good players, actually legitimately good players, play like garbage in a duty where the only possible explanation is either A, they're having an off day, or B, they don't care. As in, the reason why they're failing is because they're not trying. And usually the sign that they're not trying is if their excuse for failing is not, sorry guys, yeah, I know, I goofed it, whoops, but actually, well, there's no DPS check, or something like that. There's no DPS check, why does it matter? It's easy. Usually you can tell if the excuse gives a strong smell of, this content is not relevant to me. Oh yeah, and I do recall someone mentioned earlier that, I think it was Cat, that the commendation system doesn't exactly, it's not optimal, because it asks you if someone left a positive impression on you. It's not necessarily a good player. There's also, whoops. There's also, this incentivizes people to actually commend someone, but not only that, they incentivize players to just commend someone to get the reward. I'll teach us how the end the level of Zydus Spiders. Can I beat ultimate weapon without moving? Maybe. The key being that the Like, I'm not going to name any names, but that they specifically might be going off on like how much effort it takes to do a savage or something, and how you should be able to do that, and then smash cut to a regular dungeon, and they're like, oh, I didn't even consider that you could do that. Like, I just turned my brain off and watched something on my second monitor while doing the dungeon. Didn't even notice half of the dungeon, actually. Like, that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that you can't watch something on your second monitor while doing a dungeon. I'm just saying that most of the time when I'm doing a dungeon, I might be listening to music. Like, I'll queue for something, I'll watch something, queue pops, pause, switch to the music. And then we log in. And you might be thinking, really? In a dungeon? Yeah, in a dungeon. I do, like, I mean, Sally, I do that too if I'm live. But if I'm just doing duties on my own, not recording or anything, I'll probably be listening to music. But yeah, everyone can have an off day, but the whole point, like the whole point of this whole discussion, I would say, is that being a good mentor doesn't require that you can beat all the content in the game. Being a good mentor is a whole different skill set than being, you know, a Savage Raider. You could have both, but one doesn't equate to the other. I have a whole video on that. I believe it says PayPal Legends in the title, or in the thumbnail. Thank you, Aerodil. Exactly. Actually, the title there pretty much explains everything. Having a title doesn't mean you're good at everything. Freeland says, for mentor roulette, I wish unsync clears didn't count. I'm of two minds on that. One half is that usually the argument of I wish mentor roulette required that you did the duties synced comes from the place of you should, if you're queuing for mentor roulette, you should know how to do all of the duties, which I don't agree with. At the same time, additionally, if you queue mentor roulette and you have done all of them synced, why is it necessary to block this many potential mentors that want to help? Because they haven't done an extreme synced that has never and will never appear for you in that mentor roulette. Basically what Kat is saying. What I mean by that is the mentor roulette is not, just really quickly, and if anyone isn't certain on this, pay attention. The mentor roulette is not the helper channel where you send people out to help people beat content for the first time. It is not. The mentor roulette is basically the roulette that fills anything that needs people. That's what it does. So the higher the requirement is, the longer queues will be. At present, just like I started the stream with, expert roulette and level 100 roulette is seeing a massive drop in players because the currently interesting content doesn't include it. You know who picks up the slack there? You know who picks up the slack there? That's right, it's mentors. Mentors are the ones filling in the gap when no one's queuing for expert roulette. Yeah, only, like, there's just a million Yoshi P's doing it. Yep, that's right, Rumble. Hey, Pixel and Rumble, hope you're doing well. Irid says, I remember at the start of Dawntrail, Sprouts had problems with refilling duties quite often. Exactly. And right at the start of Dawntrail, a lot of players just didn't have Mentor Roulette because they hadn't, like, reacquired the credentials. And also, a lot of the players that would normally queue Mentor Roulette were busy with the new content. So here's the thing, Freelon. The reason why I don't think it is necessary to require that you have completed these duties synced to be able to land in them is because on the one hand, I can see the justification for requiring it, right? You could land in the duty, and if you do, then what are you gonna do? You don't know how to beat it. But then again, probably around half, if not most, of the party don't know either. But they might just be happy that the duty actually popped. Now, that is also why, when I talk about what is required of a mentor, there is no real requirement for a mentor in this regard. But if you ask me what I think you should do as a mentor, then it probably makes a lot better sense that I'm like, no, I don't think you need to have done the duty synced. Unsynced is fine. Is because if I land, let's say that I queued Mentor Roulette right now, hypothetically, I'm not going to because we're doing this. If I queued Mentor Roulette, hypothetically, right now, and it popped, and I land in Shinryu Extreme, which I have never done synced, by the way, you know what I'll do? You know what I'll do? I'll show the Sprouts what you do when you land in a hard duty that you don't know how to do. Which is mentoring. Freelon. That's mentoring. I'll show practically what the bork you do when you land in a duty that you don't actually know how to beat. Step 1, ask if someone else knows what to do. And ask if they want to explain it. That fails. Let's take an overview and see what the mechanics are. And then we'll see if we can find something. If that doesn't help, we'll have to watch, look at a guide. And we'll eventually poll, and then we'll figure it out. Brian says, you know you're the exception, right? Yes, but you know how I'm also the exception? If you required all these players to do these duties synced, you wouldn't get better equipped mentors. Freelon. You know that, right? You wouldn't get better equipped mentors. You would just get less mentors. Like, you would just get less mentor roulette queuing people, which means you would get less duties filled. So basically, the players that would do these duties synced would have done them anyway. The ones that would be blocked from queuing mentor roulette from this requirement would just disappear. And they would disappear for nothing. But that is the reason why I don't think there's any need to require them beaten synced, is because the vast majority of extremes would be required for nothing. Like, for no reason, because they'd never appear. And I'm also relatively sure that that even if these players had done it synced, they would see something like Shinryu Extreme, know what is required of the party, look at it and go, yeah, these people aren't going to do that, and just leave anyways. Like, the exception players, I guess, like me, based on Freelon's suggestion, are the ones that would stay and try anyway. And I try, even if I don't know what the strategy is. The ones that don't know and don't want to try would probably leave anyway. And to your to your question, Pixel, I believe we were told that the drop chance of Demi-Atma is... I'm pretty sure we were told that it is 20% from critical engagements in Occult Crescent and 5% from fates in Occult Crescent and in Dawntrail zones, where the distinct difference is that each Demi-Atma is from specific parts of Occult Crescent zones and specific Dawntrail zones. So if you're targeting specific Demi-Atma, Dawntrail zones are probably best, quote unquote. But if you're still like grinding a little bit of everything, then just go to Occult Crescent and do those, because they'll have a higher like drop rate. But you'll probably eventually hit a point where you have as much, like where you have finished too many Demi-Atmas, so you don't want to get a random one. But yeah, legitimately, Pixel, the Demi-Atma grind is rough. And the best you can do is just do some every so often, and then don't get too caught up in it. Really sucks now that it's like the next step is already here. But yeah, just to finish on the mentor roulette thing, I think the real disconnect on the whole mentor roulette thing is that it is weird that the mentor roulette contains extremes at all. And to be perfectly honest, I think that that's a point where we can probably all meet and say that that is weird. Because it's the same problem as something that I think I've talked about this in my videos on the Alliance Raid roulette being a little bit of a problem. That you queue Alliance Raid, you could get Circus Tower. It's like 12 minutes, easy peasy, you don't even have to try. Or you could get like Tower at Paradigm's Breach, which is probably going to be like 40 minutes. Something in that ballpark. And you probably have to try harder. The problem is that if you compare it to most other roulettes, the time difference in like expert roulettes is like, I will say the average duty in expert roulette, level cap, high level, leveling, just these four, I would say it's like swings around maybe 16 or 17 minutes, sometimes more, sometimes less, but you can go, well, I have like 20 minutes, I could queue for that, and that will usually be good enough. Trials, normal raids, these usually take like 10 minutes. MSQ roulette and alliance raids are just all over the place. And then mentor roulette is genuinely, it could be 30 seconds in Under the Armor. But it could also be like an hour in an extreme. The only reason why it caps out there is because while there are duties with a longer duty timer than 60 minutes, they usually don't time out. But that means that you have a duty roulette that averages like 31 minutes, I guess. It's actually not that bad, Freelon. My average time in MSQ roulette is both Castrum and Porta de Comana is like 15 minutes. Praetorium is like 25, I think. So like 15, like it's basically like a little bit better than a coin flip. That it's either 15 minutes to 25 minutes. And then sometimes you'll have a group of weirdos that just are really slow. And then it's way longer. Rumble says, do you think having a mount tied to 2,000 mentor duties provides the wrong incentive for the purpose of the mentor program? I don't know what a fitting replacement would be, though. Basically, that's the problem. In a perfect world, there was no reward for doing mentor roulette. Or being no incentive whatsoever to be a mentor. The only reason you become a mentor and the only reason you do mentor roulettes is out of the goodness of your heart. But let's be honest here, we don't live in that world. Players in Final Fantasy XIV will legitimately say and have said, oh yeah, this content is awesome. It's just a shame that its rewards are bad, so I don't have any reason to do it again, so I won't. Like, a legitimate problem in Final Fantasy XIV is that players, not everyone, but a substantial amount of players will not do content that they actually want to do because of a lack of rewards. So there's no chance that there will be an extremely small amount of players that would become mentors just out of the goodness of their heart. They might get the crown. Hey, that's technically a reward, so that you can't have that. It's just there's nothing. You are a mentor. You can technically access. Well, can you access the novice network? Because some players might consider that a reward. So like, basically, it's difficult. I think that the 2,000 mentor roulettes is it's a solution. It kind of works because a lot of players will choose to do this for those 2,000. And while they don't contribute that much as a mentor, they will, at the very least, get 2,000 duties completed that maybe wouldn't have without them. And I would also say, I saw someone else mention it, but I would also say, like, you should probably remove extremes on mentor roulette. And I've kind of suggested this myself in a video. Just take all the extremes out and just place that as an extreme roulette. I don't think a lot of people would be interested in it, but I know some people would be. And I agree, I don't see any reason why mentor roulette should be, like, locked behind being a mentor. I do, I'm just saying, suggestion, rename it to anything goes, remove the requirement of being a mentor, make it so that it no longer puts the combat mentor icon on your face, or your name, when you queue into it, but otherwise keep the requirements the same, minus the extremes, because you put the extremes in a different roulette. And then, that means you still have to complete everything, and then just, instead of having it be 2,000 mentor roulettes, it's just 2,000 anything goes roulettes. And you might say, well, what about the people that had to suffer through 2,000 mentor roulettes while extremes were in it? Too bad, times change. Just be glad that people have it easier now. And then if you do 2,000 anything goes roulettes, then I guess you get them out. And the reason why I think that is because, and I kind of think I've talked about this before, possibly in a video. The mentor roulette doesn't say that you have to be a mentor or teach anyone anything. The only thing that makes this a mentor roulette is that it requires that you're a mentor. But technically, there's nothing here that says that you actually have to teach anyone anything. Nothing that says that. It's just not. Which is also why some mentors, do their part in mentor roulette by queuing, and then they land in a really hard duty. They don't say a word, but if you pay attention to them, they actually play really well, and they know what to do in this particular extreme they landed in. They are doing it right, but they are not going to explain it to you because they don't feel like it. You figure it out. You look up the guy. They're just here to help. There's nothing in their job description that said that they had to tell you. That's your problem. And because of that, changing it to anything goes wouldn't, and letting anyone queue for it that has, done all those duties, wouldn't change anything. And just to be clear, the reason why I'm saying you still need to have cleared all the duties to access this roulette is because otherwise people would be able to optimize that too. And yeah, another thing that could be done if we're going to have, mentor roulette would be if sprouts or even players in general could, choose a toggle saying, I would like to have a helper. I would like to be taught in this duty. And then, either it's just a general thing, or they could, recognize the reality of the situation and let mentors choose to take a box saying, I am willing to teach. And then you queue, and then the queue is probably longer because you specifically need to match a team of people that want to be taught with at least one person that is willing to teach. And then there you go. You land in the duty, and everyone is on the same page now. And if the sprouts or whoever get mad that the mentor is maybe a little bit extra vocal, they signed up for it. Quite literally. Yeah, Kat says, I want to live in the world where people discredit others' 2K anything goes mounts because it was harder before. Well, you can already see it. You can see it, right? Congratulations on your anything goes mount. It was harder in 7.0. Or whatever, it was harder before 7 point something. Jose Mitsu, hope you're doing well. we're having a little bit of a... Well, we already reached our destination, so we have reached the just talk part. And then we should be looking at clips momentarily. And yeah, exactly, Tyler. That is what a lot of people ultimately want. That is also the reason why I think the fastest, most universally appreciated solution is that you just grab the Mentor Roulette, Extreme Roulette, Anything Goes Roulette, and Anything Goes Roulette is casual content. So it's basically roulettes in all of these, but not extremes. Me personally, I would also take MSQ and Guildhest roulettes, like specifically the 3 from MSQ and all of the Guildhests out of the Anything Goes, because it would give a more interesting variety. But technically, anything goes is anything goes. Just take extremes out, and you're actually pretty good, and most people would enjoy that, I think. And yeah, exactly, Poop. I've also suggested that. Why can't we just queue for multiple roulettes at once? I'll say, Red Master, hope you're doing well. I think the new Relic weapon farm is fine. Anyway, in regards to clips, let's see, we have this kind of funny clip, which is Shaq as Astrologian, but we're looking for Nox playing tank. We have Raging Bulls Statics first M8S clear. We have Guzzle playing Black Mage in Towered Paradigm's Breach. We have Ceros doing 08S minimum item level, no echo, so synced. We have Tail, who's showing off a trick in Kitana Rebel. I've shown this off as well, but we can like take a little quick gander at that too. We have Liv healing in M8N for the first time. We have Shaq playing Ninja in Tender Valley. We have Ham with some PvP stuff. I believe Ham left like 10 minutes ago, but Ham specifically said that it was fine, we watch it. And then we have Zaf playing Black Mage in M8N. Finally, we have some Black Mage clips. Imagine multiple roulettes with current Relic stuff. Oh yeah. That would be crazy, imagine. I think all roles could have instant queues by then. Freelon says, my annoyance is when the Sprout queues into an extreme without chat and you can't reach to them in any way. I agree. Like, I agree. That is where it gets really frustrating, because there's nothing you can do. And if they don't know what to do, then it's just over. And see, the funny thing, you having done it synced wouldn't change that. Now, where should we start? If you have given me a clip, then do be sure to let me know that you're here. I would like to get to this one, but I know that there's at least one person in the chat who would very much like to not get spoiled on it, so I feel like we'll do this one last, if possible. But I think the rest is like, we can do them in almost any order. How about we start with this one? I'm almost certain that Tail isn't particularly concerned about us checking it with them here or not. But it's a 1-minute one to get us started. Princess, I actually said to the other people, let them pull and die while we explain. The Sprout noticed no one went with them and just quit after dying. Well, that solves that. So the trick here... Yeah, Erdil, sometimes it does that. It also seems like it straight up skipped half of what Freelon said. I imagine it skipped because it said die. And top chat is weird. So this of course shown off unsynced because it's not about actually clearing the mobs. It's about demonstrating a specific trick. I've shown it in my mentor-led videos as well. So the trick in question is in regards to these guys. To give the very short explanation, you can pull this pack without entering this area. If you do, then these guys will not attack you. If you pull them and enter this area, then these guys will like pelt you with AoEs, like random circle AoEs will appear, attacking you. However, if everyone vacates this square down here, like this whole square, so that there's no one they can hit, but they have been aggroed by going in there in the first place, then they will jump down. The funny thing is that the specific distinction that you have to go in and then out is important, because I have managed to pull these guys without entering combat with these guys, which makes things very confusing. You can see right there. They jump down. It's a tip to run the duty slightly faster. That's basically it. It's not a requirement to do this. If you think that that's a scary amount of mobs, you can just not do it. But it's good to know that this is a trick, because sometimes you'll have your party like choke trying to do it if you're not playing ball as a tank. But I basically do this every time, because it almost requires a terrible healer for tank to be unable to do it, if the tank is decent. Yeah, very nice. Tail was also the one that showed us the trick with being able to pull both of the side packs in Copperbell Mines a few weeks ago. Say, Dabin, hope you're doing well. I guess it would be Lisa, but it's Dabin Lisa. Next, I would think let's do Sarah's clip, and then we'll alternate between the advice clips and the see something clip. Is this 2 pulls, Sarah's, or is it actually 18 minutes long? Iskulus, hope you're doing well. It's a door boss.
I'd like to kill at least 1 clown today. And I can't kill the clowns at work.
Spread.
Not if I want to keep my freedom and my job.
They should do that more.
Well, you can.
They should do that more with deliberately. Speaking
about not getting.
We'll just do that, Saras. We'll do that. And this. And then it'll be really weird. Misleading markers. They should do that more. Granted, Kefka is interesting because uniquely he has this. So if they did that more frequently, it would take it would make it less interesting. Yeah, there's a few here and there, but when I say they should do it more, I'm like, they should do it more in Savage. And why I think so is because something we ran into more with like more and more recent raid tiers is that the fights become, you could say, easier to pass very quickly, if that makes sense. Because the markers are extremely clear and relatively obvious most of the time. Which means that if they made extremely clear but deliberately misleading markers more frequent, I'm just saying that could be interesting. Axon says, is it weird? I like that you can literally get anything in the mental roulette. That's the draw for me. No, not necessarily. As I said, a lot of people specifically want an anything goes roulette. There's many that say if we could just take extremes out of it, they would be happy. And the thing that makes me feel like that's the correct move is specifically that there's also players that are like, can we just have the extreme roulette part? Like some people that are queuing for mental roulette because that's the only way to randomly get extremes. Like, they would take it if there was just an extreme roulette. And there are a lot of people that would probably not queue for anything goes if extremes were in it. So like the best of both worlds is to just separate those things. Hey Frauko, hope you're doing well. Guild Test Roulette incoming. Well, Guild Test Roulette already exists. Is the opposite of friendship Doritos spread markers? Thank you, Erdl. I guess they would be. That weren't friendship Doritos. I'm just saying, there's a friendship Doritos with a circle AoE on them in Dunskate, which means that they're not friendship Doritos. I believe? Or was it in Shadowbringers? Actually, I think it's in an Eden boss. There are friendship Dorito marker in cases that have a spread marker on them instead. So they're not friendship Doritos. Enemy Doritos. You thought you'd eat them, but they actually eat you. It's the not circle AoE. Enemy Doritos, you eat them and they taste bad? They're also healthy now, though. Let me just see that again. Huh? What's the sign that it's going to be opposite here? And actually, that's not even it. Oh, he saves a mechanic. Yeah, exactly, Lisa. That's what I'm looking for. You see how this... all this is a donut AoE. This is a donut AoE. As we can see right... here. It's also... that thunder is actually correct. So I guess it's just... remember that earlier it was a question marks... it was question mark Blizzard. And then it was a real thunder. That's what caught me, because I couldn't remember that he stored them like that. Oh, right, that's true, Lisa. You are in the clip. That's right. I think we just spoke past each other, because I'm like, I know it's question marks. But it wasn't question marks in that exact moment. It was question marks a minute prior or something. Sorry about that. Oh boy, Heartless Angel. So back in, like, late Shadowbringers, I would say, and early Endwalker, I did some farming of this boss. And I specifically remember in early Endwalker that the way that we dealt with the second Heartless Angel shenanigans, I think, was that we just set up barriers. Because even though he sets your HP to 1, you keep your barriers. And if with big enough barriers, you could just ignore the whole mechanic. Like this whole thing, just one big barrier. Obviously, you can't do that when it's synced. And then the boss was like, how about if I did it again? How about if I did exactly the same thing again? Like, I'm just saying, imagine progging through that blind, and you finally managed to get it right the first time, and then he's just like, how about if I did it all again? Like, just exactly the same. Do it again. So simple, yet so evil. If I recall correctly, just speaking of how big of a difference it is since this and like just late Shadowbringers-ish, like mid to late Shadowbringers, I believe that like around here was the latest that the boss would die unsynced. So the rest is something that I have at least not seen, I don't think. Well, at least this time he doesn't set you to 1 HP. This is the fun part. This is where he doesn't just meme on you. A half-room cleave. That's something we know what is, right, guys? It's a bigger triangle. That's a tank buster. It's a Neofar bait buster. Oh. Wait. So like in M6... no, wait. Yes, it's like M6S, isn't it? Just without the requirement that you have to be hit by a specific one? Huh. Oh. You know, that is funny, Shaq. Shaq says, trying to solo this for the Uwu unlock last year was a royal pain. You know, there is something funny about that. Consider that this was the required duty to, unlock Uwu. Is that that's overlapping half-room cleaves? Would precursor to being ready for Uwu at least minimum item level? Probably. It wasn't necessary to say that it's a bad, option or a good one. It's just funny that Kefka was the gatekeeper for that one. Here comes the Chaos. Now, I'm pretty sure Chaos is 09. Oh. Ow. At least you got a quick rest. That moment where you're spamming stone and nothing's happening because you legitimately don't have any MP left. Ah, it's fine. I'm sure your co-healer can carry on that. Oh, Dragoon is dead. Oh no. There's an invuln ongoing. You know, it's a good thing the damage downs don't also reduce your healing output. Well, you'll be fine if you can survive until that limit break. There it is. He almost had you. That's a long fight. Well done. And then the classic 3 raid wide and rage. I feel like that's something we've seen recently. Weird that. Right. How about we take the shack clip? The shack clip. I assume Shaq is still here. Oh look, it's a community run. So one random trick that you could use is I would say, I mean, Hooton is a pretty decent one to like use when everything's grouped up, but you could legit just send the Hooton now or Suiton on something just to get the mudras on cooldown. I don't think that's going to make a big difference in the long run. It might give you one more mudra for this pull, but that's really it. Oh dear. Well, you did get it in the end, right? Yep. You did get the Kunai's Bane in the end. But it did look like... how can I put it? Around... Like, you're running down here. Then you're like... Right, there's a Mudra I need to use. It was Huton, yes. And then I need to get Doton up. And then I need to use Caetsu. And here, when you use Death Blossom again, it feels a bit like you're not sure what you're supposed to do next. So you just go, I'll just do a filler GCD. And then, basically, this is betrayed by the fact that you go... starter filler GCD. You had a step 2 ready. You wait. Then you do you clip. You clip. And then you do a GCD. Like, I imagine Kunai's Bane was supposed to go somewhere else, as you said here, but it does give that impression of something went wrong in the planning. Which is what led you to this situation. If it were me, I think the way I would have done this is I think I would have gone with right here. Do Hakemujin Sats? Possibly. Or even just looking at this situation, I might just go... yeah, it probably would do Hakemujin Sats and then just double weave Kunai's Bane Dokomori, Death Blossom, Tenchi Jin, and use the Tenchi Jin to go Huma Shuriken, Katon, Doton. Boom. And then possibly Caetsu. But the thing is, this also ruins the order of your cooldowns a little bit. So that's not necessarily optimal either. But the key here that I think is tripping you up is a little bit of a case of you go into the pool and then you're not sure what to do. And I think I've mentioned this about Ninja before, that Ninja has a lot of actions where there isn't really a required order to the things. Like, you can choose an order and there's probably, like, there is definitely an optimal sequence, but the optimal sequence isn't decided by something super obvious. Like, there's a little more technicality to it, which then runs into this problem that you don't know what to do when you're in the moment, if you haven't planned it beforehand. A lot of other jobs don't have this problem. Oh, yeah, Huton isn't... Huton was too early, so you just can't do anything with it. But most of the other jobs don't have this problem, because even when they don't have a particular required order, it's like, yeah, but this GCD or this OGCD does more damage, so just use that one. Hi, Lisa. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your food. Like, I would say a pretty decent example of another job where you can get really lost in the sauce if you don't know what you're supposed to do is Black Mage. It's one of the best examples of a job where you actually have to sit down and crunch the numbers just to figure out what the correct answer is. Yeah, that happens sometimes for Poof, and I can't possibly explain that one. It's a solid start. Oh, Kunai's Bane has been forgotten. Never mind, it has been remembered. Oh no! Yeah, you know, I think I would have done that too if I was in this situation. The So, if we just rewind to, like, around here, this setup is fine. After this moment, what I'm like, if I just like if I just could like just click a button and then I just like go in and control Shaq's character from this moment, I think what I would be looking at is I would look at Tenchi Jin and think, how long do I need to wait to make that line up correctly? I would probably just send Bunshin immediately. So basically, ding ding ding, Suiton, Bunshin straight into Phantom Kamaitachi. Just send it, just done. I might do a GCD extra just to be sure that things line up correctly. But after the Phantom Kamaitachi, I would probably weave Caetsu immediately, because the next jutsu you're going to do is going to be Hyoshiranu in this situation. So what I would probably do is, like, from this very moment, in this weaving window, Bunshin, Phantom Kamaitachi, Caetsu, Ghost Slash, and it's a dungeon. So your opener's already a little bit scuffed. I might just go blam blam and just send Kunai's Bane and Dokomori and just get on with my day. And then from there, Hyoshiranu, Raiton with the extra charge. And then we'll see if Tenchi Jin would be up by then. And then we'll use that. Otherwise, we do some Raijus. But the key here is that, in my opinion, ninjas, openers, and bursts are so specific, or rather so tight, that you really have to know what you're doing going into them, because like one wrong button press screws the whole thing. And as I said before, a large part of it is like, you can do whatever order you want. Like, genuinely, you can just choose to do it in a specific order, and there's not really any punishment for that. But the problem there is that if you don't go in with a specific plan, then you'll just go in and then feel overwhelmed because you don't know where to start. And if you don't know where to start, you might not know where to finish because you don't have an overview over what you have done and what you haven't done. The specific reason why I would stall a tiny bit for Tenchi Jin is because I would probably really, really like to open my burst with Hyoshiranu, Raiton, Tenchi Jin. Because if I don't do it in that order, I'll get confused. And what happens here then is that you finish your combo, you see you have to dump some Ninki, and then like you kind of start on it, and you do use Dokomori first, which is generally better, and then you goof it up and don't do Hyoshiranu. And then you get even more confused, because what do you do with that? How do you make the most of it? You don't have the overview of this job to know how to make the most of that, so you just get really confused, and now you have a Shade Walker you don't know what to do with. And you get in this situation where like, everything is wrong. Everything is wrong. The reflexive knockback immunity. Just a this is a slightly more like general tip, because I know you do this on Viper as well. Like, it can happen to anyone. However, there's a little bit of memory game here that could help you a lot. The reason why I rewinded to that specific point is because if we look really closely here, there's Spinning Slash, there's Gust Slash. There's a full 1, 2, 3, nice. Spinning Slash. Oh, Spinning Edge. Gust Slash, and then Gust Slash again. But why did that happen? It's because you're looking at something else. You're focused on something else, and you didn't pay attention to where your combo was. That's perfectly... like, that can happen. And then we have Spinning Edge. And then we have Suiton. Shade Shift and Spinning Edge. And then Gust Slash. And then a combo finished. That is that it seems like you have a really hard time keeping track of where your filler combo is if you get even remotely distracted from it. Which is something you could... like, that is something you could practice. And it's something that sometimes also comes up in your Viper gameplay, I think. Which might help, like, if you work on that, you might do better in general. Just, like, getting better at keeping an overview over where you are in your filler combo. I don't know if this keeps happening in the rest of the duty, but you did the same thing on the AoE pack we checked earlier, where you did Death Blossom twice in a row. Again, it's a relatively small thing, but it quickly adds up. Like, each time you do it, it's like 100 to a few hundred potency lost, and it adds up. And it might be more impactful than getting your burst just right. Yeah, I can see that, Zaf. The best you can do there is just click the glowy button. Just click the glowy button. It's not that easy. I do it too sometimes, and if something causes me to goof up where the glowy button is, I'll sometimes deliberately goof it up to just get it realigned, if that makes sense. Like, the biggest problem I had, like, the weirdest thing I have with the Viper rotation is that because of the way that it works, your first two combo steps technically will be the same button. Like, it'll be 2-2, and then either 1 or 2. And then 1-1, and then either 1 or 2. Just alternating forever. Until either something causes your combo to reset, or you goof it up. And then it's just goofed up until you goof it up again. And I just preferred that the thing that aligns the first and second combo set was something else. That would be nice. Sally says, I wish there was a way to get Katon and Huton in the same Tenchi Jin use. Yeah, I get that. And that is also the reason why I usually try to, like on AoE, use Doton with Tenchi Jin. Because that's the only way to get Katon, like, associated with another AoE button. And yeah, I could imagine that this boss would cause trouble. I believe I have a clip of me playing Ninja on this exact fight where I also had my rotation get janked up because of the mechanics here. And the thing is, once you know how to do it, like once you have a plan, the Ninja Burst is not that bad. Once you know what you're going to be doing, it's not that bad. But that requires that you know what you're doing. And then the boss is like... Also, there's these bombs you have to meter out, and where did... like, which line AoEs are coming at the same time. So my suggestion, like a lot of the problems that are happening in this specific clip are two specific things. And I think both of them could be improved by practicing at a striking dummy. It's not perfect because it's still a dungeon. And in dungeons, sometimes you'll go into a pool with your cooldowns all janked up. And there's not much you can do about that. Using the commodity there really screwed up the cooldown alignment of the remainder of the run, especially Tenchi Jin. See, the funny thing there, Shaq, is that your cooldown alignment was screwed here. Like I would say rough estimate is right here. Your cooldown alignment is screwed. And I imagine it was again that you got distracted during your burst, so you missed. You either A, forgot to use Dokomori, or B, it just didn't connect for some reason. But yeah, my suggestion would be, one thing you can do is go to Stone Sky Sea striking dummies, practice the opener and the 1 minute and a 2 minute burst, and then like the fight finishes. If you can't kill the striking dummy in time, then basically you get the opener, the 1 minute, like you get the opener, the filler, the 1 minute burst, the filler, the 2 minute burst, and then the round off. Like, how do you finish a fight? And that's actually something that can be complicated for something like Ninja as well, because specifically when you're finishing a fight, if you can see, oh, the timer is shorter than the cooldown on Kunai's Bane, then you having a Mudra charge is completely irrelevant. Like, that won't become a Suiton. Like, that obviously won't become a Suiton, so you just send it as a Raiton, and you're fleeting Raiju. So there you can practice those things. Once you have those things in order, what you could also do is just go to just use Explorer mode to enter a duty of your choice. Put down a striking dummy, and then just go to town on the striking dummy. Just practice for a while. You don't have to do that. You could do that. The reason why you can do it in a duty is because I have talked about the weird jank with animation locks and latency, and generally speaking, without third-party tools, you will have a slightly better experience practicing in a duty than practicing not in a duty. If you don't have any latency problems, that's of course fine. But it's just if it doesn't matter where you are anyway, then might as well do it in a duty. And they just practice that. And then just generally speaking, I don't know how you would practice this, but getting better at keeping an overview over where you are in your filler rotation as a fight progresses might be a solid move. As I said, I don't know how to practice that. One really extreme thing you could try would be, use a hotbar, like an extra hotbar. You might have to turn that thing off where you can see the unused buttons so that it doesn't fill up too much. Just have a hotbar that just shows your step 1, step 2, and step 3, and you can just see front and center what step is glowing. So you just, at a glance, can see, oh, I need to press turn now. That could be a... Uh-oh. No! The bunny! Technically, that's also true. You don't have to show step 1, but it's more the principle of the matter of showing all 3 for the kind of the symmetry in it, I guess. The niceness. That it, like, at a glance, you'll specifically be able to see that it is glowing. The 3 buttons in a line, you'll see the middle button glowing. Whereas if you only have the step 2 and the 3s, then you will see the left button glowing or the right button glowing. Like, it might help. I don't know if it will, but that is something you could try. If you could do the same for Viper, where there you just put, like, your 2 buttons, just front and center. A little bit like the blade gauge. Just put it more forward so it's easier to see when stuff is happening. But yeah, it does seem like there is a lot of it does seem like you get that it is quite overwhelming, and that I think what would really help you would be practicing the rotation a bunch. And it's just a starting point, because the thing that is really tripping you up here is doing the rotation while mechanics are happening. But if you know how to do the rotation, like you might have practiced it, and you're like, well, I can do the opener, and I can do a rotation, I'm good. But you don't have enough of an overview that you can do it while mechanics are flying around your ear, so you might need to practice a bit more. The reason I'm saying that is because it does seem like you know what needs to happen, but once the boss mechanics are happening, those things are just not happening. And the key benefit to Ninja is that, largely speaking, if you press everything correctly on time, then you only need to learn a 1-minute burst and a 2-minute burst, for the most part. There is the part that Bunshin will, like, be available on the 6-minute burst and on the 3-minute burst, but Bunshin doesn't, like, if you're really optimizing, it does play a bit of a factor, but you can ignore that. And just, like, you press Bunshin when it's glowing, like, if it's available, of course, but you don't change the burst. You just follow the script. But you need to really internalize that script for that to work. So, that would be my suggestion, Shaq. Otherwise, like, I mean, you still cleared the duty in about 13 minutes, so that's decent. That's pretty good. I feel like that's, like, about... I'm pretty sure that's actually about average. Does that sound right? I feel like it's about average. And yeah, specifically to clarify on what Zav is saying, looking at your mudra situation, when Kunai's Bane cooldown is below 20 seconds, you can do Suiton whenever you want. And if you have Shadewalker, so that you can use Kunai's Bane in time, you have done this here, we can see this. Once you have done that, you can use Caetsu as long as you know that your Shoranryu will show up within 15 seconds. As soon, like, basically you can do Suiton, and then you see what Kunai's Bane's cooldown is when it hits like 10 seconds or something. You can do Caetsu and you'll be fine. And then you just work from there. Granted, Caetsu being used early is optional. It just helps so that it doesn't end up drifting throughout a duty. Because you can use it earlier than you actually need it. So you have some time to work on. or some time to work with in case it does go wrong. And then beyond that, just learning to have the overview of the order of cooldowns you're going to be using. And then just learning to use that order. It's okay to just be like, well, I can only do the burst when I'm doing it in this exact sequence. That's fine. You don't need to learn to, like, customize it that much. There are cases where it's really helpful if you can. Like, if there's like, oh, the boss is going to force you out of melee range during it, so it's kind of inconvenient if that point is when you're going to use the right juice. But that comes with practice, and then eventually you'll have that overview. I hope some of that helps, Jack. So many clips and so little time. How about we take some more of these first time, like these advice clips, and then we finish with Raging Bull's M8S, so that we don't have like a random spoiler, super spoilery one for some people in the middle. Is Liv still here? So this is a very interesting thumbnail. Also, hey, Mr. Mayoyama, hope you're doing well. Says, I recently had to move from Japan to Belgium, and I don't want to move to EU servers and leave my friends, but the difference in ping is pretty noticeable at times. There are tools, question mark, to deal with that, but other than that, there's not much you can do. Well, I know Zarf is here. So how about we do Zarf's clip? In that case. So this is a Black Mage in M8N. Supposedly a bad Black Mage here. We'll see about that. It looks about right. You don't have to late weave that mana font. At least not anymore. So, I just want to really, whoops, see, just want to really quickly rewind on this one, because there's a few things that you can do to like make things a little easier for yourself here. And a part of the reason why my Astral Soul gauge is a little bit bigger is because I often use that for planning. Your next spells in your rotation right now is going to be, and I can see that on the Astral Soul gauge, is going to be Fire 4, Flare Star, Transpose Blizzard 3. And you need, like, you want that Blizzard 3 to have a swift cast or a triple cast. Like, I don't judge, you pick whatever. But that means that you can triple cast right now and it'll work. You just triple cast Fire 4, Flare Star, Transpose Blizzard 3, and then you're good. So you could actually triple cast already now. The big scary part of this part in the fight is figuring out where do you put your second ley lines. That one, I usually greet it really hard. You don't have to do that. But I would, personally, probably, like, seeing this, like, he does this, you go over there, like, you just, you know, fire 4, triple cast, run over there, ley lines. Because he's going to dash over there, cleave here, and then he's going to stand there for a moment, then he's going to go and do that same mechanic again, and there's a good chance that he's going to let you stay there. It's not guaranteed, but there's a good chance he's going to let you stay there. At least to the majority of it. And the reason why I would even consider that is because even on normal, he does so many things that just doesn't allow you to stand still. So a solid maybe is something I would settle for. Like, we take those. And if you then look at this situation, knowing what I just said, he goes there, your ley lines would have been down there, like possibly overlapping with this thing, so you might have been shoved out of it for a moment. But once you can see this, you can also see that he'll go over there, dash down there, so you could actually move your ley lines to here if they're inside the circle. You just take a small step to the right and move it. And then you just keep going. And he'll go up there, dash down there, cleave, and you're fine. So, like, you almost had the freest ley line. That's also the part that, if we just rewind to here again. If you had just, like, launched yourself over there, just dashed over there immediately, just right here, Xenoglossy, trip, and just start running, your ley lines would be down at, like, 91 seconds on the ley lines cooldown, which would mean that it would end now. So you might have been fine for that whole thing. And then you could just slide out in the last moment. This is also a possible opportunity to do ley lines. Maybe. I'm not quite as sure. Good maintaining the dot. You might get punished here. Uh-oh. Ah. I don't really have a plan for where to use my ley lines. Oh, that's the trick, Zarf. In that specific moment, the way I learned to put my ley lines at that moment was me just going, this looks pretty good. I don't know if it'll get better, so we're just going to risk it. Because if you look at this, now you've gone a full 2 minutes and you didn't find an opportunity to put down the ley lines. And now you feel forced to just send it. Does it matter when you start ley lines during ice phase or fire phase? If you're using ley lines inside raid buffs, it could be argued that yes, it does. For most black mages that go a little bit more like, like I'm just gonna use it when I can, and then we'll just deal with it. You lost a fire starter there, but technically that's not a DPS loss. That is not a DPS loss. So, but it might be a convenience loss. It'd be nice to have that extra instant cast of having a paradox in the pocket for when you want one. But basically the only way that it would matter, Guzzle, is if you make a big effort to make sure that you are in fire phase when raid buffs are happening. Because if you're using ley lines without raid buffs, then technically what ley lines does is it just progresses you through the rotation you were going to do anyway faster. But if there are raid buffs and you happen to choose to make sure to use ley lines during the raid buffs, then, I mean, you're still just progressing through your sequence faster, but preferably you overlap raid buffs with a fire phase. A lot of the time, you can overcome this. Oh, that was pretty slick. You can overcome this if you can stockpile polyglots. If you can hold some polyglots, then you can turn your burst into... By the way, you should use that amplifier. You should really use that amplifier. You can turn your burst into like 3 or 4 Xenoglossies. And maybe a Thunder reapplication. And then there's like 4 or 5 generic GZDs. And the probability that those are going to be Fire 4 or better is pretty high, considering that Fire 4 or better in your filler rotation is like... like at least 75% of your filler rotation, I would say. Ow. Here it comes. So just winging it should help you a lot. There's also like if you play spell speed Black Mage, you can fit more GZDs inside the burst, which means that there's going to be more filler GZDs in there, and that means that it's more likely that it doesn't matter where you are in your rotation when the burst comes up, because Ice Phase is going to end up in it anyway. Like that's not exactly an optimal perspective. But it does have that detail of... like, imagine if Paladin... like, consider Paladin before you get the Blades combo. A large percentage... or Gunbreaker before you get Lionheart. A large percentage of your GZDs are, in the 2-minute burst, just going to be Burst Strike. Because that's just the way it is. Ooh. That one is rough. Amplifier! You have an amplifier, you can send another one, come on! You have the... I would say... a lot of the things here, I would say that it felt like you warmed up as the fight progressed, so some things got better. You weren't perfect about using amplifier and cooldown, and basically, if amplifier is ready and you have less than 3 polyglots, then like I will often just use an instant to weave amplifier in that moment. It's really convenient if you have 3 polyglots, because then you kind of have to spend one to make space for one. And Xenoglossy is the perfect fit, like instant to weave amplifier. So you just Xenoglossy amplifier, boom, easy game. But you really want to make sure that one goes out on cooldown. Ley lines having 2 charges allows you the freedom to put down a ley line when it pleases you. It seems like you got better about just using the ley lines at some point later in the fight. I would say, and I kind of demonstrated, I think I demonstrated this a little bit on the Tuesday stream, in that when we got duties where I couldn't actually remember like the plan, like the sequence of mechanics and all that super well, I would just YOLO ley lines, just let's hope it works. And a lot of the time, the only qualification I gave to use ley lines was the boss is in the middle of casting a mechanic. I can see where the safe spots are. They're going to cast that mechanic. Then, in true Final Fantasy XIV fashion, they're going to let that resolve. Then they're going to admire their work for a little bit, and then they're going to do a new mechanic. And that whole sequence can take like 15 seconds before a new thing could land on me, which means that just YOLOing the ley lines will get you the majority of it, even without retrace. You just send it and then you just hope it'll work, and a lot of the time it will. In this specific case, if you had just basically, if you had ley lined where I suggested, I think it's like, it didn't matter what Howling Blade was going to do. Like, where he was going to do the circle AoEs didn't matter. Where he was going to land and do the line AoE didn't matter. Where he was going to do the cone AoE didn't matter. He might steal, like, one ley line GCD while you reposition. But if you just send it, you could get, like, most of the duration just like that. And there's nothing he can do because you sent it while he had already shown his hand for the next, like, 10 seconds. And he couldn't abandon that, so he wouldn't be able to cheat you on that. So, I'm not saying have a plan. I'm actually saying, if you don't have a plan, just YOLO it. Just go, well, he's in the middle of something, so he's not going to attack me right now. I can probably get half of this ley line, and if you get the whole ley line, then, like, if you get that duty as Black Mage again later, you can just, note it for yourself that, well, I mean, it worked last time. And if it doesn't, well, if you play Black Mage enough that it matters to you, then you'll eventually figure out the strat. Another thing that I noticed that I believe also got better later in the fight is that in the start, it seemed like you really wanted to specifically use triple cast for the UI1B3 Swift cast. And the specific point where I think it kind of goofed you up a little bit was around here. The reason why I even thought about it is because Swiftcast was right there, and you used it after Transpose. It would have been really nice to have a triple cast right here, possibly. You might not need it, but if you had used Swiftcast for the last Transpose thing, then you would have had a triple cast in case you needed it. I think I often use triple cast for this, which is why I kind of expected that. Yeah, that would be my suggestion, is if you have both Swiftcast and triple cast fully ready, then it's like kind of doesn't really matter. It kind of depends on the timing. If you can send the triple cast a few GZDs in advance, and you do that. If it happens to be fine after Transpose, you just Swiftcast it. But if you have one triple cast charge and Swiftcast is available, then it's a lot nicer if you can just Swiftcast it, because Swiftcast will be available again sooner. But overall, I think that was pretty well. You didn't think it died. You did get hit by a few things, but worth it. Ross said, how do you avoid all the pillar drops? Let's take a look at that. I think it was Ham that said that the pillars actually drop in a predictable way. They basically have a pattern. It's a little hard to see. It's a little easier to see here now, right? But you can see over there was mega safe. But there was actually a big safe spot here. And now the mega safe spot turned like 120 degrees. And the bigger safe spot is over there. Or the other safe spot is over there. And now the safe spot is here. Hey Crazy Yelga, hope you're doing well. Because I find left of a tower is usually safe enough. I'll say I've also had trouble with it, but I've gotten better as I've gotten more comfortable with the fight at large. So thank you, Aerodil. Yeah, I think you did pretty well, Zav. I would also say bonus points for actively going out of your way to do the UI1B3 Swift cast a bunch. Does it always turn clockwise? I don't know. Look at the north pillar. If it's going to drop towards left, go right, otherwise left. Then look at the south tower for second one, and back to north for the third one. Let's try and see that. So the north tower is that one. It's pushing a little bit to the left. And we learned that the safe spot was going to be there. The north tower is probably that one. I guess. Oh wait, sorry, it's for the second one you look at the south tower, which is that one. And that one's going right. And then the north tower is up there again. Going slightly right. Thank you for that, Guzzle. That was the balance opener kind of forced me into it. Well, after the opener, you could technically do whatever you want. But it's just a case of if you refuse to do the swift casting of B3, you're just leaving a cumulatively increasing amount of potency on the table. If we say, if let's say you get at least one B3 per minute, and you get more than that, by the way, say it's closer to like 1.5, then you're leaving like 130 potency on the table every minute. In like 4 minutes, that's a fire 4. Just gone with the wind. In 8 minutes, that's 2. Like, actually, in about 7 minutes or so, that's a flare star. Just. And this is a 7-minute fight, so. Worth it. So that's why I think it matters that you bother. I'll ask again, is Liv here? Because otherwise I think we'll just miss this one for now. You are here, fantastic. We get more M8N, M8N. I assume this is the second pull. Liv had a little bit of a... it is the second pull looking at the timer. Had a little bit of a weird group. So just a starter here is its double scholar.
Can the challenger defeat the wolf in his own lair?
Oh no! You should probably have your Kabi on the pole.
Such speed, it's as if there's a pack of him. A stylish evasion, well done.
It's a little hard to see. I think your dot is missing. Yep. So, the first thing I would say is,
Can the challenger defeat the wolf in his own lair?
I believe he does one raid wide. And then he just doesn't do anything that isn't avoidable for a long time. So that's of course easy to say in retrospect, but basically that deployment tactic was just, I guess it was insurance policy. Maybe in the last pull a lot of people died to this.
A stylish evasion, well done.
It got eaten. I saw them mashing. Just check real quick here. Yeah, another tip. This is you know, a little bit of like training wheels kind of stuff, Liv. Is let me see if I can find the correct time to point to that. Boss goes to the middle. You don't know what he's going to do. You don't have to do anything. If we assume you don't know what he's going to do, or don't remember what he's going to do, then you don't have to do anything. You see that? That's going to the middle. You have plenty of time. You might not know that. Let's assume you don't know that. You're not sure if you can make it. Common if you're like learning. However, whatever the case, you have ether flow ready. You probably want to use energy drain or something. Could put down a sacred soil here. But to do all of that, you're going to need a bunch of weaves, and you want to get over there approximately. The training wheels part is just use Ruin 2. just use Ruin 2. Just don't worry about it. It's like 75 potency loss, if I remember correctly. Just use Ruin 2 here instead of doing this. Yeah, it's a huge advantage that Scholar has, is that they can just do that. You can also do that with this upcoming mechanic. I would also say a little tip, just general, and I think you know this, and it might be like a like inexperienced with the job, but this one is the is where I would ask, like, let's just see here. Actually, let me just go far enough back to see how you ended up there. Boss goes over there. So you need to be somewhere over there. You're going over there. So you're here. That's how you ended up here. You have no reason to go anywhere else. But you also don't have any reason to be in Narnia. I know Narnia is pretty close here in this particular universe. The closet is pretty close by. It's like in the living room. But you have no reason to be out there. So you come back in. Boss starts charging a mechanic, you go to Narnia. But this mechanic specifically punishes you for being in Narnia, so you don't want to do that. If you don't have any good reason to be out in Narnia, then you go to melee range. Just go to melee range. If you don't have a good reason, you go to melee range. Doesn't matter that you're ranged. Whether you're a bard, machinist, scholar, or black mage puts the, like, in this specific situation, this would actually be like, I don't think I would do that because I just don't like using it at that point. It makes it a little scary. But in this specific situation, the best place a black mage could put their ley lines is right there. Like right there. In the middle, because you can dodge all 4 half-room cleaves from there in your ley lines by just taking a step to the side. And the reason why that matters is because you, a healer, don't have any reason to be out here, and you could equally dodge better if you're in there. This is like positional stuff. You made it in. And that's also like, that's the thing, is that it's not so much about, you got punished. It's more the general idea of there was no need for you to be in Narnia for that. And just the general lesson of, if you have no reason to be out far away, then come in. Come into the party. It's going to be easier for everyone if you're close. If a stacked marker lands on you, then it's easier for everyone that you're already in melee range. Nice. It is good that you reapply your dot when you have to move anyway. And making frequent use of Sacred Sword is also good. A pretty funny detail is if you have 2 scholars or 2 sages, you could, if with a little bit of teamwork, you could maintain this effect for the entire fight. But just alternating. Scholars can do it in an even more effective way because their Sacred Soil lasts longer. So that like they can more easily just overlap them by just like every 15 seconds, and then like you'll have like 1 or 2 seconds of 2 Sacred Soils overlapping with their effects. Or this can happen. where both scholars drop it at the same time. Another random, like, minor tip, I would say, that can be handy is... I imagine that at this point you're thinking about what, like, actually not yet. Around here, you might be considering what you're going to do with this free time. You can, on the exact frame you determine that you're going to use Adloquium and then deployment taxes, you can just send the recitation. In fact, knowing that you're going to use recitation at this moment, you could technically have used recitation here just to get it on cooldown faster. That's like, just to be clear, that's like just mega optimization. Like if you know that that's what's going to happen, then you can use recitation early. Another detail is that as long as you send the Adloquium in time, it doesn't matter when in the recitation duration it's sent, of course. Another thing is that deployment tactics copies Adloquium wholesale exactly as is, with duration included. So the sooner you deploy it, the earlier deployment tactics goes on cooldown. Waiting doesn't do anything. It's not that you waited, you didn't. What is funny though is that the other scholar tried to just use a sucker, I think, or consultation. I'm just mentioning this because I know some scholars don't realize this. Some scholars will like use recitation exactly when they want, like when they need it, even though they knew they could have used it in advance if they wanted to. And like it's a bit sweatier optimization. The funnier one is when they put down Adloquium and then they wait like 10 seconds and then they deploy. And then like that does happen. And it's just it doesn't really matter. Most of the like I imagine that it's because like the cooldown didn't, like the cooldown timing didn't matter, so they just do that way. But it's a small optimization you can do if you know.
Where did that colossal thing come from?
And yeah, that expedient, I can see what the purpose probably was. You could probably have used that a few seconds later to coincide with when people needed to move. But yeah, that's smart. It's not, that's a solid move. That's a solid move. Just a little calibration. Rust, I guess we got the answer on how you dodge all 3. Do that. Be like Liv and dodge all the pillars.
Must have heard, but they're not out of the fight yet.
Also, very good that Summon Seraph was used. Oh. Oh dear.
You're mine.
Oh, good call. I think, was that a lustrate? That was probably the only thing that could save them. I was actually just about to comment on the fact that you have a full fairy gauge. You could probably just set your fairy to heal that bard. That bard is having a bad day. They could use a little help. I will say, like, the thing is, Ether Pact is not that strong. I think, relatively speaking, it's like 120 more healing potency than Embrace. So the big draw is, like, it's slightly more, and you're guaranteeing that it's healing someone in particular. So you can make sure that you can go like, okay, my fairy's healing that guy, I'll cover the rest. This is fantastic. I was just about to say, this is probably a pretty good time for Seraph. Or Seraphism. Although you probably don't need to spam that hard. Now we have a different problem. Your co-healer. Although you have the Swift casters on cooldown. Baneful Impaction. Looks like the summoner got them. Oh, yeah, okay. I was like, wait, where did you put those? Where did you put that Ether Pact? Was it on the main tank? I mean, the main value in Ether Pact is that you can just place... Whoa. Wait, that doesn't kill? Huh? I thought it was lethal. What? That you can place your fairy on healing someone in particular, so you can focus on something else if you want. And it's extra good if you can just do that while the boss isn't doing any raid wides. It's like Sage putting Cardia on someone and just healing them slowly that way. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it is lethal on Savage, but it's really, really weird that it isn't on normal. I'm pretty sure that kind of like black hole looking thing is lethal in normal normally. Hey Vashti, hope you're doing well. Finish him. Nice. But I think overall, Liv, you did pretty well. The main things that I pointed out was like some general stuff, some positional stuff. Like I'm just saying, the tip about Narnia applies to any fight. Like, it's not just this one. That is why I'm mentioning it, despite seeing you not get punished for it. It's like, don't hang out in Narnia if you don't have a reason to. Just don't. Ever. It's just no need. And when you have all that slide casting real estate, you might as well just make your way back in. But I think you did well. Also that, if you're targeting the boss, you can get some free auto attacks. They don't do much, but they add up over time. How about we finish off with Raging Bull's Savage Clear then? I know we have a few more clips. We even have the one that has been going, like, been carried over for a month, I think. But I do think that that this is the one that I think is a higher prio, in my opinion. And then we will try to get to them next time. I'll probably also have a shorter walk next time. I'll try to make sure that I have a shorter walk next time, I guess. So, if you don't want to see this, this is a full clear of M8S. So if you don't want to see that, this is your chance to escape. We'll probably try to mention it when we're done, in case anyone wants to come back. But we might forget. But this is the last clip.
Let's begin, shall we?
So we have Sage, White Mage, Warrior, Dark Knight, and Summoner on the Mage. And Bard. Imagine having a strength DPS, am I right? I know you do, but...
I wonder if you can keep up.
Revolutionary?
Some speed, it's as if there's a pack of him.
Oh! I'm gonna lower the volume a bit. You know, something really, really silly is that the bleeping noise used to cover swears is sometimes caught itself as a swear. I mean, tanks don't count? Well, I mean, they don't use strength DPS gear. Now, this is a great time to have Panheimer. And Lilybell. Level 60 tanks do, yeah, but we're level 100. Oh, the trick I do, Zeros, is that if I have when I had a clip with swears in it for the chaotic highlights video, I replaced the swears with other sounds.
Where did that colossal thing come from?
Well, that's a cone. Ask what other sounds you use to censor. Punching sounds. For instance. Basically, I just use the catalog of sounds I use for my Mentor videos.
Not bad. Not bad.
I just don't use the bleeping sound because apparently that one
Your timers.
can be itself caught as a swear. like both in the sense that systematically that for instance YouTube might, but also because like we as people recognize the bleeping sound as a swear itself. Like it's about as effective as replacing one letter in an actual swear with like a star or an exclamation mark or something. We all can see what the word was supposed to be. So you're not really censoring anything.
Still you stat.
You know what I mean?
How delightful.
Also, I did see there was that trick with the spread or the line AoEs in the ad phase. I was personally not sure how to deal with that, but pointing it out so extremely explains a lot. And Cass, hope you're doing well. Yeah, that's also a way to do it. You have no idea what exactly 4 stars mean, though?
Did not read.
Oh, I have a few guesses.
Thank you. Look, shifts. Thank you. I zoned out for a millisecond as you guys did.
It's a slightly unlucky pull in a gacha game. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Try this.
Yeah, that one also works, Agent Monica.
3.
I have only had to figure out what I'm going to do about it like once.
Swapping close. Cardinal.
Nice.
We are going into stone.
I know that that's not what that means, but I like to imagine that
I did the pot and the burst down to make sure I didn't get every bit. Holy.
I know that that's not what that means, but I like to imagine that this is actually how long Raging Bull has been listening to Unleashed specifically.
I need more.
That was a very good potion window. Alright. Laser in. Focus. We got this. Be calm. Listen to calls. Know where you're going. Know what you are doing. As always, we start with White Party.
Defeat is not an option. They moved a floating death trap. How would they fight with so little room? Now I fight with them.
How will they fight with so little room? I mean, there's like 5 times more room now.
Line up.
IMO.
There's no escape.
Busters.
Will you be able to stay on your feet?
Hero's Blow.
I will rent all asunder.
Out and left respect. Let's go. Send those buffs. Party stacks. Moon Cleaver. Party move.
Okay, so you heal me, yeah, sweetie?
Sorry?
You
You
get
full
Benny.
heal me.
Yeah, I will banner.
Palace. Numa. Towers. Let's go.
Dodge this if you can.
Oh, well. How nice of him.
Card here is moving.
The power of wit unleashed.
Nice. Pass tether. Move for bait.
And that is a good point of needing to get real up close for everyone to get that Panheimer.
Pass tether. Move for bait. Pass tether, move for bait. Nice.
Uh-oh.
I needed my partner.
Oh, it's
It's okay. Focus.
I was just about to like a
Fuck
thing.
you.
It's pretty funny. Nice, as the white mage dies.
Focus out, check your circuit. Starting in. Inside donuts. Left. Sides. Left.
Left.
Donuts. Right. In. Left. Out. Left. Let's go, like parties.
Sleepy, how did you not die there?
It's okay. Don't
What are you
know.
talking about? Let's go. Line up!
Nice.
Clusters.
I'm dumb, I'm dumb. I'm not dumb.
Lament spots. I crit shielded you.
I can't heal. Can't heal them.
No, it's not me anymore.
It's fine, it's fine. They have stuff. I gave them everything. Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
I just used my blood wrestling again.
Danny, you're going north. Look for 2 tower north sides. Danny, you're moving. Think about how you're dodging Hero's Blow and getting to your side for UV. Hero's Blow. Out. Line up best you can. Communicates. Everyone south. Everyone south.
Communicate. The voice chat has never been so quiet the entire poll.
Panheimer region will have Horus and Kera for last. Move left,
over.
move left, move left.
Stay.
Stay, wait and bait. Living dead.
Albino.
By the way, this is technically
Wait and bait.
the Hardened Rage gradually
Kitchen
approaching.
sink.
For those that don't know, you can probably see what the Hardened Rage is from here. Because you can see what's happening to the arena.
Wait and bait. Melee LB. Come on. Every mitigation you have. Everything. Everything.
I will just heal.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
There you go. Nice. And yeah, for those that don't know, the Hardened Rage is that he straight up just does that again on the last platform and you die.
Oh, God.
Nice. And yeah, I believe the trick is, and that's also what we saw there, is that the first platform, the damage is not that huge, so you can just, mit it normally. The second one is doing more damage. Apparently the strategy there is to have an invuln be done. Then for the third one, I believe you usually just have the tanks use all of their mitigation, because like the boss isn't going to do anything else for the rest of the fight. You're not going to need them for a tank buster. And then the fourth one, you have another invuln. And then for the fifth one, well, you can't have everyone else dodge. Like, you straight up can't. So your only option is to just use all the mitigation you have left. And part of the logic in having the first and the last platform be the ones where you party mid is that it gives time for you to recover some of those mitigation options. And then you also have time to recover mitigation options earlier in the fight by specifically using everything on the last one. But the reason is also that, as you may notice, he gets a damage buff each time he smashes one. So as he breaks each platform, the stack marker becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And then in the last one, like, I mean, he'll do the smacks and then he'll do like a slightly longer charged up attack and then destroy the platform and it's over. So I think, I don't know for certain, but I think you had a little more seconds than it might have felt like. Agent Monaco, stack tank invuln, tank kitchen sink, tank invuln, and then everyone else kitchen sinks. But yeah, pretty much. The stacks keep getting more and more stacked. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, well done. Let's see here. Oh, Sib is here on an alt. Huh. But yeah, same, Naomi. The music in that phase 2 is also awesome. Hey Isaac, hope you're doing well. This being the main tank is so stressful for that part because it's a 2-minute and a pot window, and it's a very strict invuln timing, especially on Gunbreaker where I have no room to weave. You know, the funny thing is if the other tank, well, I don't know, maybe there's something with the invuln timing early in the fight, but if the other tank has an easier time invulning, you could just swap the order. So that you don't have to do it overlapping with all of those things. Say Mia, hope you're doing well as well. Mia says I'd argue that part is probably easier with like a Gunbreaker and Paladin or something. Possibly. I'd say, speaking of that invuln thing Isaac just mentioned, I'm pretty sure Dark Knight would have the easiest time, because due to the way Living Dead works, you can just send it and then, like, it'll trigger the timer when you actually die. But there is, of course, the detail that if you're, for instance, not doing it in a static, you're doing it in Party Finder, then there's not that much you can do. If you're the main tank, then you're the main tank, and while it could be neat to swap for those kind of things, it's just going to add to the confusion. Also that, yeah, the Dark Knight's burst is a little more flexible, I believe, but it's more so that if you need exactly 10 seconds of invuln to do the mechanic, then it means that you do need to weave that invuln at exactly the right time, and Gunbreaker has that weird jank with Super Bolide that makes it stricter. Ham would be able to explain this better than me, but it's really awkward and very, very strict. So Gunbreaker's particularly tight. Meanwhile, among all the 4 tanks, Dark Knight, when they press their invuln, it starts a timer, a countdown of opportunity to activate it. And if you die, it activates automatically. So if you need it to last exactly 10 seconds, specifically the Dark Knight one, you can press up to 10 seconds early and it'll just work. Like, it'll just automatically work. There's, of course, the whole separate ordeal with the fact that if you need it for exactly 10 seconds, you have to hope that the boss doesn't, like, do the thing, just bash on you for 10 seconds, and then your invuln ends, and then the boss is like, oh, right, an auto attack, before you can get healed again. But I believe most of the time they make sure the boss just doesn't do that. Like, usually the bosses just don't do that, because that's just so evil. Couldn't you large mid and then Super Bolide on the first hit? Mia, the tanks need all of their mitigation for the third set. So if you're the first tank to invuln that bit, then you need that large mid in like 8 seconds. So you don't have anything to spare. You need the whole thing to just land just right. But if you didn't need it, it would be really convenient. Personal contest P12S magic outsource. I don't miss. Yeah. It's just evil when the boss does that. But I guess it is, like, it's kind of a way for the developers to disincentivize you from doing stuff like that, I guess. Also, I do think that YouTube might be having a field day today. Or having quite a day. I think in the past, like, 30 minutes, the live view count has gone, like, as in the amount of people that have clicked this stream, has gone from 280 to 266. Apparently, people are unviewing the stream. What do you even say to that? So at that point, I have no idea how the stream is actually doing in that specific regard. That said, I think on the Master Silk Song popping off, I imagine. Yeah, probably, but that doesn't change the fact that YouTube is having such a day that the view count is going in reverse. Got a lobotomy midstream. So I must have taken away my view. Anyway, I think that will be where we will be wrapping up the stream. So if you did enjoy this particular stream, it helps me a lot if you leave a like on it here on YouTube. That tells the algorithm that this is an enjoyable stream. I'd like other people to enjoy it as well. So thanks so much in advance. And if you'd like to be part of the Discord community server, you can find a link right there in the chat. There you will find, first of all, the clip review room where you can post your own clips for us to take a look at when I manage to. whether it's you wanting advice or you just wanted to show something off cool, something cool you did off or whatever it is, you can do it right there. You'll also find the schedule where you can see what else is happening in the coming days. I usually update Sunday and Monday. You'll also find the announcement room with links to videos and streams when they put them out. And if you grab the reminder role in the role assignments room, you'll get a notification whenever I post a video stream, as well as an extra one around 15 minutes before stream starts, so you can catch it right when we go live. And if you'd like to support the channel even more directly, you can become a member of the channel, you can gift memberships, you can use the super chat system, or if you don't like any of that, there's also the Ko-Fi link that Aerodol posted right there in the chat. It all helps support me and the channel directly, so I can focus on doing stuff like this with all of you. So thank you so much for the support. By the way, real quick, random aside, I've noticed people recently start commenting on the way I say Ko-Fi, which, like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just weird that, like, if I had a nickel for each time someone commented on the way I say that, in the past week, I would have 2 nickels. And it's even weirder because if I said it in the past year, I would still have 2 nickels. That's kind of strange. I specifically say it like that because I don't want it to be confused with Buy Me a Coffee, which is a whole different website with the same purpose. So I say Ko-Fi, like lo-fi, because that's how it's written. Anyway, that'll be all from me. So thank you so much for watching and joining me for this stream. And good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are in the world. And I hope to see you all very soon. Bye bye. Wee wee.